You are listening to
The Shredcast.
No tendies, baby.
It's the health code for snowboarders.
Let's send it.
Welcome back to the Shredcast, everyone. Today is super sick because we have Casey Willax, and if you don't know who he is, he's an amazing snowboarder and is now becoming a super sick surfer. He spent all of his time really just becoming like a big YouTube presence, just uploading every single day, just nonstop, absolutely killing the game on YouTube, Instagram, and he's just been paving his way in the industry and just working towards creating a brand for himself. And if you don't know, he recently started a podcast, so that's been super sick as well. So welcome, Casey. I'm super stoked to have you on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Of
Stoked to be
course.
here.
Yeah, well, I kind of want to talk about that, like I listened to your bomb hole episode, so I know that you from a really young age just were starting to like live out your car and just go snowboarding and do the whole like van life thing as you're still doing. You're a very nomadic person. So like what kind of pushed you towards that?
Uh yeah, I mean, probably like you heard in the bomb hole, my mom moving up to New Hampshire. I was from Connecticut, and she gave me the ultimatum to like go up and hang out with her and live up there at 19 or stay with my friends and my girlfriend and everything in Connecticut. So that was obviously going to be my choice. And I think being like, actually, I was probably like, I think I was 17 or 18 at the time. So like going right into that out of high school and sleeping at friends and couch hopping, and every couple of weeks having to hop back in my truck. I feel like just from a young age, I was already living in my car. So once it turned into like the ski bump thing and there was a reward, it's like, oh, okay, I'll sleep anywhere in my car if we're gonna spread good powder the next day.
Yeah, that's super sick. So, I mean, like growing up in that lifestyle, is that's what has kind of made you stick with it? You just really loved it?
Yeah, I feel like maybe everybody's got a different way of like living, and I just kind of tuned into the way that feels good for me. Who knows if 15, 20 years down the road I'll still be stoked on living in a little car, but right now, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's sick. So, when you started doing this, and I'm assuming you were just working like any job you can get your hands on to kind of afford it, or did you immediately jump into like the whole YouTube thing, trying to make money online?
No, that was, yeah, it was cutting grass, trimming hedges, painting. Like I did DoorDash for a while, just literally anything I could. I had like a old 91 pickup truck, so I got like decent gas mileage. And it's
Yeah.
not an Uber, so you don't need people to get in your car, but like just dropping people off food. And honestly, being like really savvy and just paying attention to like when people needed things, like when you're that, I guess, like humbly living in your car, you don't need much. You're cooking your own food and stuff. But then someone's like, hey, can you bring me to the airport? I'll give you $40. You can like do the math real quick. Like, oh, that'll cost me $18. Like I can make $23 on this little hour trip here, and kind
Yeah.
of jumping on those opportunities, but also having friends that let me sleep on their couch, and then always like trying to give back what you can. And then they give you a little
Yeah.
something. I've always been big into just exchanging stuff instead of money.
Yeah, no, I think that's like such a sick way to live. And honestly, it's like what the world used to be. And I think it's really cool when you kind of like go back to how the world used to be and just like a really simple lifestyle like that. I think honestly, a lot of people get a lot more joy out of it doing it that way than kind of like what the modern world is now.
Yeah, I go back and forth between like wanting to step into the next like business thing and like grow
Yeah.
my brand and all this. And I'll dive into it. I'll be like 2 months into doing something, and then I'm like, whoa. If I do that, then I'm like kind of locked in every day. I could just go to Baja right now and
Yeah.
Wi-Fi and like take 3 days off. No one's gonna care.
Yeah, dude, I feel that because, like, I don't know. I think it's kind of this weird balance, or at least this is how I view it now. By all means, disagree, but I feel like it's super cool that we have an opportunity to like build our own brand and make money online and do it ourselves and not work for someone. And like, there's potential for a lot of income in there. But at least for me personally, my whole goal in doing that is literally just to have time freedom to like do all the things I want to do. Like it's not to have the money, to have the nice house, to have the nice car. Like I literally couldn't give a fuck. I'm like, I
Yep.
want to just be able to go snowboard every day and like no boss is gonna be on my ass about it.
Yep. I'm 100% the same. And it's honestly interesting because social media is all like, hey, like for me, for example, like I'm Casey, look how to do this. I can teach you how to fix your board and learn these tricks. And like, we're happy and this is my day and
Yeah.
everything's good. And I'm like pretty internal. Like I like to just go home after that and work on myself. But then when you
Yeah.
share it and you expand and you grow an audience, they think to be the public figure in person too. So I like had to work on actually like, hanging out with everybody because I'm usually just headphones in, focus on my ride and get my tricks, film it, put it
Yep.
out. And then when that took off, it's like, oh yeah, now you got to like associate with everybody and like switch who you kind of are. I've always been an
Yeah.
internal, but it helped though. Now I can like hanging out with Daly. I don't know if you see any of the Brian Daly stuff, the
Yeah.
Overstoker I hang out with, but that helped a lot, teaching me how to just be free and open and more outgoing.
Yeah, dude, I love that though. So like okay, so eventually you started to just kind of like take it online, and from the get-go you were kind of like, I'm going all in with this, and you were posting every day, and it was just like a bunch of snowboard vlogs. So like your brand is kind of centered around like, hey, I'm Casey and I go like ride hard and like hang out with people. It's not really like a Tommy Bennett that's like, here, let me teach you how to do this or whatever. All the other people that are on YouTube. I feel like yours is very different, and where it's just like, yo, this is sick. Like, let's go ride. So, like, what kind of prompted that? Like, just because that's what you were already doing?
Um, it's like there's so many like little avenue things, but I was like working jobs like you were asking earlier, just trying to save up for the winter. And then my buddy Ben Gravy, who was a mutual friend of somebody else, he's a surfer, and he was doing the daily videos.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were working or before we would go work every day, I would just watch his video, 10-20 minutes, him getting stoked, doing whatever the hell he wanted to do, getting like a couple products, like opening some boxes. I was like, what a little dream life. You just cruise around, surf, come home, open a package, just try to keep it humble so you don't need 200 grand.
Yeah.
And so I was just working, saving, stacked up whatever, however much I could, and like bought the things I needed for the next winter, the season pass and everything. And I told myself when I started, I was going to do it every single day. And I think
Mm-hmm.
you might have heard like there's a whole longer story about something that happened right before I went to do that, where like I got my computer stolen, and then this like magical person showed up and gave me the computer back. And he was like a homeless guy, and he was like,
Whoa.
make videos. We need you. Like, you're a good positive force in the world. It was like this crazy. I know it's
Okay, I don't know this story at all. What the hell?
I bought a computer to start doing this vlog that I was going to start doing, and I misplaced it or something. I left it outside of my car. I don't even know what happened. I was like moving from vehicle to vehicle. I'm all over the place. And like 3 days went by and I couldn't find it. And someone found me, this like lady on the side of the road at midnight, and was like, Casey Willax, some homeless lady. And she's like, my boyfriend, he's coming. He's got your computer. And I was like, what? And he showed up and he like gave me this whole spiel, like super well spoken. He was like ridding
Huh.
the area of drugs. So he was going undercover, and he found my computer from some homeless dude who stole it. And he saw the thumbnail of me, knew my Instagram, bought the computer from the guy, and then somehow found me and was like, tell your friends to leave. I want to talk to you alone real quick. And like he wrapped it up and was just like, you're making a great positive impact on the world. I love the surfing videos with you and Jamal, the Rocky novelty surfing. And he was like,
Yeah.
please take this computer, go give the world your presence and make videos and da da da. And I was just like, and he like rode off into the distance on his bike and was like, peace out. I was like, take the universal cue, bro. Like, do this. And so like I
Whoa.
saved up as much as I could. Back then it was way easier because it was just like iPhone, GoPro, just dump it in, didn't care about really music, didn't care about subtitles or coloring and all that. So I was able to like do it more consistently. But then
Mhm.
as I got better and better, like I start adding more things, adding more color, adding more lighting. Next thing you know, the edit takes 10 hours instead of 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I pushed it for like a couple years. And I think that just how fun it was. And like, I know this all leads back into the way that I create, which is just, I just document. Like when you're
Yeah.
doing every single day, I wasn't like, all right, tomorrow we have to do like 10 tips for this, or we have to like structure something out. I'm like, if the weather's good tomorrow, we're going to go score that. If it's not, if I feel like surfing, I'm going to go surf. And I've never
Yeah.
been good at doing things that other people want me to do, timing, schedules, all that. That's why competitions were very hard for me. So once I
Yeah.
found that, like, oh, you can just document what you're doing, post it on YouTube whenever you want with your schedule. I
Yeah.
like started to take a back step from like the pro snowboard like approach of trying to be the best snowboarder in the world, and was like, I'm just going to document the journey to trying to become a great snowboarder. And it resonated
Yeah.
with a lot of people, I feel like.
Yeah, well, because I think that that's a lot more realistic for most people. Because, like, at least for me, like, obviously my brand centered a lot more around like fitness and health, but I think what makes me a little bit different is the fact that like I'm trying to get better every day, whereas like some people they just vibe going out and ride and like that's sick too. But like specifically, I'm like I want to get better, but also I know I'm not in a place where I'm gonna ever go pro. I'm probably never gonna get like these gnarly tricks, and so I think it's really cool to just be like, oh, I documented myself like trying this for the first time, or I finally laced this thing. And like you're just
Yep.
constantly progressing and people can see that. And I think it inspires a lot of people to be like, oh, I can still like go out and try. Like I don't have to give up on anything yet. And I think like
Yeah.
that's just like a really cool thing to bring to people. Cause I think so many people in snowboarding like get bored or they just like don't even know what to do next, or they just feel like they can't. And I feel like that's really sad because there's so much you can do. Like, as so many people say, like, is it a sport or is it creativity? And I like to say both, but I do think that that creativity aspect is so huge in it that so many people like struggle to find.
So important. And nowadays you can be involved in snowboarding and have nothing to do with being like a really good snowboarder. You can focus on snowboard apparel, snowboard working out, any aspect around snowboarding, which is just the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah, truly. So I'm kind of curious. I don't even know if you have an answer to this, but you've done so much traveling, you've like documented so many things. Do you have like a favorite memory from traveling or just something that you're like, this is an all-time experience I'll never forget?
I feel like with snowboarding for sure, Japan is just it's just
Yeah.
unreal. It's like the a whole different world, continent, country, everything, best snow, like the combination, the people. But with overall, probably Indonesia. Like every time I go to Indonesia on the boat in the Mentawais, like just being away, like you have 10 people around you for 12 days, the most beautiful place ever, perfect
Yeah.
waves, warm water, like no service, phone's gone. You're just whatever you got is what you got. And yeah, I would say like surfing Indonesia on the boat and then snowboarding Japan is just it's unlike anything else. Blew up this year too. I think we're gonna go in the next couple days, and everybody that I'm hearing there is like the rent went up quadruple, the food tripled, the lines are quadruple. It's like it's insane.
Whoa.
We're there now.
Dang, yeah, I have a friend that's going next month, so I can see that since like those are people that probably never would have gone just because it is such an expensive thing and it's such a commitment, but definitely on like a dream bucket list of mine to go out there. It just seems so sick.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to get your powder riding dialed, make sure the back leg can handle the burn.
Yeah, for real. Like, all right, come to me and then you can go to Japan.
Exactly.
So I was really curious, and this is probably just my ignorance and probably a really stupid story, but like I was going around your website and stuff, and I saw something called neck, and I was like, what is that and why?
Yeah, frick, the neck has been around for so long. It was like me and my friend Jamal. We were huge into just having more energy, and we've
Mhm.
never cared about what something tastes like. If we found out through science or whatever that it's gonna make you perform better and give you more energy, doesn't
Uh,
matter. Like however you have to do it in any form, supplement, blend, grind, stuff, you know what I mean? Get it down the neck is where that started. So
okay.
and then so if you're eating a lot of good stuff, then like your neck is on point. Like it's the foundation, it holds your head up. So we started creating all these analogies around like, yo, how's your neck today? And you're like, yo, honestly, I haven't drank water in an hour. Like I got to get my neck right. So, and then it just turned into like, if you fall, the dude got necked. But like if he stomped something, it turned into just a word that meant everything. And then so people just started commenting like, yo, how's your neck, bro? And we're like, yo, we're proper today. We're like, oh no. Like it's just a reminder, like, yo, how is everything? Because everything has to go into your body through your neck, like pretty much,
Yeah.
unless you're IV of glutathione or something. But it's
Yeah.
so that's like, what's the neck? How's your neck for the neck? Like, do it.
I love that. That's sick. So then I guess that kind of funnels into what I wanted to really like talk about on this podcast is that you are like a really health conscious person and you like make a point to like do yoga and meditation and eat right. And I feel like especially you've been sharing about that a lot. I mean, like your shoulder work video and just like a bunch of stuff like that. So were you always like that or did it just kind of like prompt and now it's just something you value or?
It's been a shifting journey for 20 years. When I was in high school, I used to drink a lot. I was just partying like everybody would imagine, and I was also working out like crazy. So like the combination of drinking, working out, taking pre-workouts, and then the mindset of like everything that goes in my body is getting turned into muscle. Doesn't matter. Sweet tarts, great, like just doesn't even matter. All get turned into muscle. And I just was like, I literally have photos of myself 200 pounds, benching 300 and plus pounds, just
Yeah.
this monster. And that was in between my skateboarding career and my snowboarding career. There was like a 3-year window where I was like not skating, just whatever, drinking, chasing girls, just like that weird period that most people have in their life where they're trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
I started getting crazy acid indigestion, heartburn,
Mhm.
and it was so bad. I was taking Prilosec all the time, and then you're just like taking a Prilosec, which is an acid inhibitor, so you have less acid, but you need the acid to break down the food. That's why it's coming up. So it's just this endless cycle that you can't fix except for medication or surgery. And so I went to my doctor, and he was like, "Yeah, we could do surgery. We'll patch it up, but it's going to get worse because the acid will burn the patch that we did. The only
Yeah.
way to fix it is by changing your diet." So I started looking into it, and this is just a generic doctor. They only know what they know. You got to do your research at that point. So I just basically started cutting out like pasta sauce, like red sauce type stuff that's like really just causes indigestion.
Mhm.
And like within like 3 days, my heartburn started to go away. So I started cutting out the alcohol a little bit, stopped taking the Prilosec. I forget like
Mhm.
all this stuff. It was mostly just like, I want to say processed carbs that I was taking out, Ritz crackers, just things that like your body doesn't even know what it just, wheat in a box that's processed in a factory. And
Yeah.
everybody's different. So some people can handle that for their whole life, and I just couldn't. And
Mhm.
once I found out that, it kind of like shifted, and I was like, yo, we are capable of like creating whatever we want with this diet thing. Started looking into it, and I moved across the country at that point. Whole different topic, but like broke up with my girlfriend, quit my job, sold all my stuff, got my first snowboard sponsor, flew to Mount Hood, moved there. And then I was in my room by myself with like a 4-hour snowboarding window, a bunch of
Yeah.
money saved up, and didn't really know what to do. So I just started researching like food and health, like the movie Thrived, all about like the law of attraction and how what you eat, you create. And that's when I
Mhm.
discovered Dave Asprey, who was the old founder of Bulletproof, through the Joe Rogan podcast. And it all led to like just this health journey of energy, which I was combining with snowboarding every day, trying to become
Mhm.
a professional snowboarder and hiking and jogging. You know what I mean? Like hiking at Mount Hood in
Oh
85-degree
yeah.
temps every day. You need water, you need to be on point. And I was trying to also stretch before that and jog afterwards and hit the gym. So it just
Yeah.
all came together at the same time around like when I was 18, 19, 20, 21. And you literally
Mhm.
see me go from like 200 pounds to probably like 165. I cut out alcohol completely, went
Mhm.
full sober, stopped drinking. Like it was, yeah, it was like just such a massive shift in my life. I started making my own ice cream, and like you get addicted to all this
Yeah.
stuff. You tell me I can eat ice cream. I just got to do like eggs and coconut oil and just make sure it's all fire ingredients. And I can have as much as I want. There's protein in it, and it's good for
Yeah.
me. Burning fat. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been
It's
an
sick.
absolute mission.
How did that like affect, maybe it didn't, but in my mind, having been to Mount Hood a couple years and just knowing like the culture that surrounds Mount Hood really is like that core snowboard culture and really is like going out and drinking, hanging out with all these people and like smoking, whatever. So you went to Mount Hood and like completely changed your lifestyle different from that. Did that like affect hanging out with people and making friends where you kind of just like felt secluded almost?
Yeah, so all those people you're talking about all started snowboarding when they were 5 years old. And I started like really snowboarding. Like I would do the weekend warrior while I was in middle school, high school.
Yeah.
I was drinking, occasionally ride. That whole shift happened with the food thing and the stopping working out around right before I was saying that I was going to move to Mount Hood. I
Mhm.
we were doing a weekend warrior thing. We ended up showing up at Mount Snow, saw what a terrain park was, found
Mhm.
the love for like steezy snowboarding and 720s, and I was like, yo, I didn't even know this type of snowboarding existed. I just been riding like tree glades at Stratton,
Yeah.
and that's what got me to like, okay, I need to be lighter. I need to be more flexible. I need to stop benching 300 pounds. Everything I'm doing, my arms were like stuck where they were. And I was just this sack of meat. I could like hit the ground hard, but I couldn't like twist my neck and do a 270 while leaving my legs behind.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, all right, the gym thing's done. All this other stuff is done. And when I went to Hood, I guess a combination of before I left Hood and when I got to Hood, I was just surrounded with all of those core people that you're talking about that are so good, that are drinking,
Yeah.
and they're so good already
Yeah.
that they can start drinking. But I needed to like advance my riding. So those days off the next day or the next 2 days where you're not riding good, I couldn't afford.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. Like they are friends with who they are friends with, and they don't really care about anybody else. So I was
Yeah.
so far outside of being friends with these core guys that I
Yeah.
didn't even realize that they were partying and drinking and maybe talking shit or hating on whoever. I was just like, I got to catch up. I'm waking up at 5 a.m. every day. I'm going for a 3-mile jog. I'm coming
Yep.
back. I'm stretching. I'm eating. I'm going on the mountain, and I'm getting better with music in. And like, you guys will hear from me in 2 years when I learn all the tricks that you have, and we can even like chat about what's going on. So I didn't even really know that like the whole party scene was going on because I just wasn't involved in it. I wasn't watching
Yeah.
people's videos. I was just hyper focused on myself and like this new life that I had like created that I didn't know about for 20 years, just
Mm-hmm.
moving and hitting heavy weights. I'm like, this is just such an opposite thing to meditate and jog and stretch. And yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like
It's
the core thing. I kind of avoided that.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool to hear you say that too, because like I started snowboarding even later than you did. I started when I moved to college and came out to Flagstaff. So I was 18. That was the first time I'd ever been on a board. And I
Yep.
mean, like I grew up like surfing and skating a little bit, but I was never like good at either. It was like kind of a whole new thing. And so I like fell into the party scene. I mean, I was a freshman in college. I was 18, so a whole other thing.
Yep.
And I was drinking and like all my friends were super good, which was great because it pushed me to like, you're either going to get left behind or you're going to figure this out, which was great. But I also picked up so many bad habits. I was literally like so inebriated on the mountain, which is so dangerous. And I hate when people do that, but fell into that trap.
Yep.
And then, yeah, I'd be hungover and I'd feel like shit. But I was 18, so like my body could handle it, you know? But then you get to a point when you're like, I can't do the things that I want to do. Like I was trying a board slide for like 3 years and it would be so on and off. And I was like, why can I not figure this out? And then like when I finally started breaking things down, I was like, my body mechanics suck. Like I have no dorsiflexion. I can barely even squat on my board. Like I can't do any of these things that like I should be able to do. And so it's so, and same thing, I was doing like bodybuilding type stuff at the gym. Like I wasn't like a beast by any means, but like I didn't have the range of motion that I should have at like an 18, 19-year-old body. And so it's cool to hear someone else say that, yeah, if you really want to like improve, like even if your goal isn't being pro, if you just want to get better, like it takes time and dedication and you can't just go and party all the time. I mean, maybe you can, some people can, but for the
Some
most
people can.
people, some
Some
people
people
really can.
can.
It's wild. But for the most part, like if you have like a really set goal, like it takes a lot to kind of get there. And especially I think mentally more than anything of like, okay, let me actually plug in, like you said, and just like get it done. And I'll talk to you in 2 years. I mean, it really is that.
Yep. 100%. Some people can, but I also think that they burn out after a while, after not too long. And there's also something like with food energetics where like just the conscious thought of you knowing what you're doing actually makes things affect you more. So like if I was to go and eat Wendy's right now, I'm out cold for 3 days. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's mentally, I'm just like, I'm distraught. I can't, my
Yeah.
vision's blurry. I need 11 hours of sleep. I wake up, I don't feel right. I'm like
Yeah.
stiff. And some people, when they just don't know it, it just doesn't, it literally just does not affect them at all, which is amazing.
Yeah. Or they just don't know what's affecting them because it's been so normal. Like they've never seen the other side, so they don't know what it could feel like. And I think that's more so what it is.
That actually happened to me when I did the Mount Hood thing and I moved there and I was by myself honing stuff in, stopped drinking. I was feeling so good. Everything about it was feeling super good. And I think I don't know what I did, but I did something. I drank or something, and I had never experienced like the shift from how good I felt to how bad you felt, like
Mhm.
dramatically. And I was like, yo, I never
Yeah.
literally never want to do that again.
Yeah, I feel that. So, do you kind of want to talk about like meditation and yoga because I know you're a really big advocate for that. And like personally, I have no idea how to meditate. Like I cannot get myself to do it. So do you have
Your
like tips since obviously that wasn't like something you started out doing and something you kind of like grew to love?
tips for meditation. My gosh, I'm so bad at it. I feel like it's just one of those things that you got to be more consistent with, even if it's like 3 seconds every day versus 25 minutes one day, and then it's like it's overwhelming. Almost reminds me of like learning another language, like studying Spanish or something, where it's really stressful on the brain when you're not getting it dialed in. You just keep having these thoughts.
Yeah.
Um, where did I even get into it? I had a pretty severe like back situation go on when I was thinking like 2012, maybe like 3 years into my like after Mount Hood career. I went to Colorado, tweaked something with my back, couldn't figure out how to like. I just waited like everybody else. You just, I guess time will fix it. I don't stretch, I don't do anything like that. And I ended up having to fly back to Connecticut, where I was from, to use my health insurance to go to a chiropractor. And he explained to me, like they obviously did specific things. It wasn't just the chiropractor where they pop you and then kick you out. He like did the swivel chair. He did all types of different things where it was my body, standing on a full vibration platform, the stim, while flexing and stretching to try to realign your spine. And then he gave me these 10 stretches to
Mhm.
use for spinal elongation. And I started doing them every single day. And within like 2 weeks, I freed up whatever they were calling it, subluxations. They got all types of words for stuff, but I freed up whatever it was and just started looking into more spinal elongation stretches.
Mhm.
And that's when I started doing the yoga. And then all the yoga videos that I was watching ended on corpse pose, where they have you meditate at the end for 10 minutes. And I think just like that moment away from, I have so much stuff going on in my brain all the time, I can't stop. So I think that quick moment of like just release or calmness or whatever it was like amazing. And then I just was like obsessed with researching stuff in my room at Mount Hood by myself. I had so much free time. That's how I learned Spanish. That's like just in there, just trying to not waste time. And
Yeah.
yeah, I would just be literally, I would practice 10, 20, 30 minutes a day. But I think the biggest tips for meditation are just like knowing that you're not going to dial it in. It's not something that gets perfected.
Yeah.
It's like the act of realizing imperfection and just watching the thoughts come and being aware. And then once you start to get that second and that third awareness, your
Mhm.
perception of life kind of switches, and you're like, who is this person that's watching me and can like command me to do things? And I don't know, it changed my life forever, but it's so difficult,
Yeah.
especially if you have an active mind.
Yeah.
Someday
Totally.
we'll get it consistently every day, all the 10 minutes. But I feel like, I don't know, getting in the journal or something, like marking like a 5 minute window for 7 days and like giving yourself a little reward center when you exit off would be a good way to get into it. But it's so
Mhm.
huge. I actually just heard yesterday that when you still the mind and you stop thoughts, it allows all of your other thoughts and whatever you have, all the
Mhm.
information to kind of reassemble and organize itself.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, that would be nice if I could organize
Yeah.
all this here.
Yeah. I feel that. I even like this morning, like I've been like obviously trying to grind on this whole business thing, and then I also work another job. So I've been like just going, 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 going. And so I find myself just in this like terrible cycle of like staying up late, not being able to wake up, having super low energy, and then I don't do anything about it. And that's the like hardest thing for me is once you get into that cycle, it's so hard to break it. And so like this morning, I was like, okay, I'm gonna like take my dog for a quick like 5 minute walk. It's freezing outside. And even just that, I like got home and I was like, wow, like I'm awake and everything's clear and it's so nice. It's just like such a small thing that I think makes such a big change, like whether it's meditation or going for a walk or whatever. But what did you like find as the result of that? So like you started doing it and you were at Mount Hood, like did you find that there was like it was helpful for your snowboarding or just you in general or kind of both?
Every aspect of all of it combines, all of the chaos that you have in your head to do some structured stuff. I think it all almost just like it gets you like a natural high where you don't really care about anything. You're like, oh, okay, it all kind of is going to settle in regardless. So me
Hmm.
thinking about stuff and stressing is pointless. And then when you go to think about something or do something, it comes so much easier.
Hmm.
But I think I did like a 75 hard
Mhm.
a few months ago. And it's like when you set something like that, where you're like, you make an agreement to yourself that you're going to do something. It's like almost for me, it's like the only way that I can get stuff done is when I like tell myself, okay, this is what we're doing. I make an agreement. I like can't let myself down. But when
Yeah.
it's just up in the air and you're like, I know I should go get sunlight in the eyes in the morning. I should ground. I should meditate.
Yeah.
But I literally wake up and I'm like, first thing, I'm like, oh, that footage from yesterday. Like you said,
Yep.
like, oh, I gotta get that uploading so that this can happen. Oh, I didn't even make it. So I'm making my coffee and you get all over the
Yeah.
place. And I think just like the best thing you could do is literally wake up and before you even get out of bed, just like sit up, throw the pillow under your butt and just 5 minutes of just breathing and meditation. And it's
Yeah.
sets your whole day up super proper, but it's not easy.
Yeah, totally. It's easy, but it's so hard to start. I personally
So
think. Like
easy
I
and
think
so
once you start, totally. So like I guess then to me, one of the biggest things I find with both myself and just like people I talk to when they want to progress with snowboarding, and my mind goes to like more freestyle. But I guess it could relate to anything, is they get so scared. Like I get so scared to do certain things. And I'm like, I know I have the capability to do it, but I just like don't even want to try. And so when you are in Mount Hood and you're like, I want to learn all these crazy tricks and I need to get better, and my body needs to get better for these things, and you start meditating and you say like kind of connects all of your thoughts to where like you don't really care and you're just like one with yourself. Did that help a lot in terms of like your progression and just trying things that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise?
100%. And when I just completed the 75 hard, when you like do stuff that you say you're gonna do and you commit to it and you get it done, there's a confidence that just comes where you're like, yo, I'm I'm that guy that I was trying to be. Like I did everything that I said I was gonna do. I feel great. I have the energy. I've put the time in. I took the supplements. I stretched. Like you just have this weird confidence where like, yo, I could flat ground backflip right now regardless of what I could do 3 weeks ago because I know I can jump higher. I know, I don't even know how to explain it, but after that 75 hard, I feel like this winter I am the lightest I've ever been. I am the most like maneuverable and flexible. And it
Mm-hmm.
was just from creating like 5 things that I needed to do every day that weren't too long, that weren't too
Yep.
crazy, that weren't too extraneous, but it built that consistency. And
Mm-hmm.
like I lost flat ground backflips for like 2.5 years just because I
Yeah.
wasn't doing them. And then through the 75 hard, I was like, that's going to be a goal. I made a couple small goals of things I wanted to get back. And now I'm like standing at the lip of a jump or something. And there's nothing in my head that's like, dude, you fucking drank last night. Or like, dude, you haven't
Yeah.
stretched in a couple of days, or like you ate some weird shit. Like everything that's running through my body's great. I did meditation, I did breath work. Like I feel good, I feel light. I landed everything last run. Like this is it right here. So
Mm-hmm.
that like, just when you do the things that you know you should do, you get a confidence that allows you to then achieve the things that you know you can achieve, which is crazy.
Yeah, totally. And I think like that's the biggest thing is growing that confidence. But unfortunately, like you can't do much other than actually doing it to grow that confidence. Like you have to just do it, which it's like that's the biggest mental battle is like, can I actually do this and can I actually try it? And then once you do, like you said, it's this like euphoric high almost of you're like, oh my God, like I did it. I can go do this now. I can go do this. And it's like the craziest, craziest feeling. But overcoming that first like mental hurdle is definitely the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah, it's like building confidence in yourself.
Mm-hmm. And it's so hard to trust yourself, but it's so, so worth it.
Yeah.
Did you think that, how do I phrase this? As you got older in age and as you like, obviously you started this health thing when you were like 19, 20 years old. So you were still like pretty young. But as you got older, did you find that it like helped a lot more as you aged? Because so many people come to me and they're like, I'm 30, I'm 40, like I can't do any of these things anymore, which like isn't true if you put in the work, but it's this like mental thing almost of like, I'm at this age, so I can't do it anymore. So did you think like having these habits helped you as you're like aging through snowboarding and still throwing like gnarly things?
Yeah, so I don't believe in age as just like when people hit 40, this happens. When people hit 30, I do believe that there is an overall mass amount of people that hit 30 and hit 40 that fall into that category. But what that 30 isn't your 30. 30 is you've neglected yourself for 20 years.
Yeah.
So 40 is you've neglected yourself for 30 years. And so if I'm 30 and I've been dialing myself in for 11 years,
Yeah.
and I will feel the exact same way that somebody feels when they're 11, like 11 years of
Yep.
not destroying yourself. Like you see these 11-year-olds bounce around. So I get like frustrated with the word luck and the age
Yep.
thing, because people will they'll put on their neglect of their body and the results on other people and be like, oh, 30's coming up or 35's coming up. And
Mhm.
I've seen 65-year-olds
Yep.
ripped with a full head of hair, paddling into waves, riding 365 days a year in different continents and stuff. So it's like, it's, we already know that it's not a set in stone linear thing, that when you turn 60, it's like that. And I think
Yeah.
there's also a combination between stress and enjoying your life and having fun, because that just 2x,
100%.
3x's all of the buildup in your body and the calcium. It's just like, so yeah, I think that people really like nowadays, now that we're doing more of this health thing, need to realize that age is literally a number that is
Yep.
related to the amount of work that you've put into your body. And just stop putting like 35 as like achy back, and then 37 achy joints, 40
Yep.
arthritis. Like that is only based off of how long you haven't done stuff for yourself.
100%. And I personally think that as you get older, as long as you're continuing your education in any way that you can, you'll actually start to feel better as you age because like you can probably relate to this as we've talked about. When I was 17, 18, I had like zero range of motion and I felt like shit all the time and my body was definitely not there. Whereas other people would argue, they'd be like, "Oh, you're 17, 18, you can do anything." And I was like, "I can do more now at 24 than I did at 18." So it's if you're continually improving yourself and you're putting in the work and you're doing the right things, I personally think you will actually get better because when you're young, you don't know what you're doing. So like more times than not, you're gonna do something wrong and like it's not gonna hurt you because of how young you are, but it's also not gonna make anything better.
100%. Yeah. It's just there. We've seen it. It's not a question anymore. There's
Yeah.
amazing athletes at 45, and there's people who are stiff and can't do much at 25.
Yeah. I just think it's
But
something people need to like really trust in themselves of like, okay, I'm 30 and it doesn't matter. I can still go like work on myself and do this.
that's the whole victim mindset of like, I got attacked by age. This is where I am. And it would be so nice to not be able to do anything and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are how old you are, but unfortunately it's not like that. So grab a weight, go start doing gnarly stuff. It's going to be intense, but you can literally reverse this crazy 10 years of aging that you had from boozing. And it's all
Yeah.
accountability. A lot of people don't want to be accountable because
Yeah.
it's not fun to be like, oh, this is my fault. I did this and now I have to grind my way out of it.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love being able to just realize that like literally in 10 years. I mean, I watch my footage from last year or from 2 years ago when I thought I was the best I'd ever been at snowboarding. And I watch like if I do a 180 onto a rail and I land and I'm going to do a 360 off, and how far my upper body can spin this year compared to
Mm-hmm.
last year is like 15 more degrees. And I'm like,
Yep.
holy moly, I lost like 20 pounds on this 75 hard challenge that I did. And for the past 5 years, I've been like 180, sometimes getting up to 185 if I don't like ride a lot and do anything
Yeah.
like in between surfing and snowboarding when I'm doing business stuff. And then going from 185 down to, I was like 165, 168. I'm like, I like 170, 172 now, but just losing that 15 to 20 pounds and seeing how much my body can spin, like my upper body without the lower body, causes
Yeah.
me to like pop off more, not catch an edge, and literally land so much more tricks and be lighter and jump higher. It's amazing.
Yep. Totally. Well, as you know, I live in Flagstaff and I saw some clips of you riding Snowball a few years back. So I want to get your input on Snowball because it's so like definitely a controversial mountain in some ways, but I want to get your opinion because it's super small, but I think it has a lot of potential. And as someone that's ridden so many mountains, like what did you really think? They won't
One
hear
of my
this.
favorite places in the world.
Really?
It's every time we've been there, it's been perfect. Bluebird, sunny. We roll up, people are screaming. The energy is amazing. There's been crazy parks both time we went. We went last year. Was the second time, and they had the Snowboy Productions event that just happened this last week. That was there, but it was closed. But
Yeah.
they had just opened up a 4-pack of booters, and they were
Oh, okay.
money. I had just last year was when it was like the first time I hit jumps after my
Hmm.
ankle situation. So I was freaking out, and I followed my friend, and we launched all the 4-pack. We overshot every single one of them. My ankle
Yep.
held amazing. I
Those,
either had tears coming down my face. I was screaming and crying and so happy. And like, I think it's just insane. Like the energy there, the people are so stoked. There's like people shoot photos of us all over the place, sending us clips. And like, yeah, I
yep.
don't know, that the energy over there is incredible.
Yeah, it is a pretty cool mountain in terms of the energy. Like I always tell people, I'm like, you kind of ride the same lap all day, but it's sick because you have your like crew of people and
Mhm.
you're just vibing the whole day and like you can just go take a parking lot break and hang out and eat some food and then go back up and yeah, you just ride pretty much the park all day, but it's so fun. But there's
Yeah,
not a
and those stagnant runs where you're doing the same run over and over again, you end up getting super creative. So a lot of like
exactly.
really good people, because the same thing where I'm from in Vermont where we rode, it was like nitro, top to bottom, every run, all day, 7 days a week, all
Yeah.
year. But then next thing you know, you start finding these transitions, these ways to ride it that are just out of the norm. And it's, yeah, I feel like it makes you grow as a rider, forces you to do stuff you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, totally. I think it's 100% the creativity. And like that's something I struggle with a little bit. And that's where I would always urge someone to ride with someone that's like slightly better than them, where they can kind of trail behind and follow them into things like that. Because that's what I do with all of my friends because they have that creativity mindset of like, oh, I can go try this off this side hit. And I personally would never think to do that. But if I'm going and following them, I'm like, okay, shoot, we're doing this. And then you get to try it. And I think like that makes you a better rider as well. And I think that's super fun for someone to try and do with some of their friends.
Yeah, 100%. And that place is amazing for that.
Yeah, totally. Well, last thing I really want to talk about is surfing. I grew up in Oceanside, California. My dad's this big old surfer dude, loves to just be out there in the small waves on his longboard. I wish I was as good at surfing as he is. I'm nowhere near, but growing up on the East Coast, I'm assuming you didn't grow up surfing. So how did you kind of like get into that? And obviously, it almost seems like you love it a little bit more than snowboarding now.
100%. Um, yeah, it was from Mount Hood. I did a couple years there, and then you can ride Mount Hood until October like 1st, and they close until like October 20th or something.
Mhm.
So after riding all winter and then riding all summer or spring and then summer and then through the fall, my brother had randomly moved down to Huntington Beach,
Mhm.
and it was me and one of my friends at Mount Hood, and we were like, dude, what are we gonna do for the next 3 weeks while they close? And we're like, let's drive 8 hours, or shoot, I think it was like 16 hours from
It's a
Oregon
long drive.
down to Huntington Beach. Yeah, where my brother moved, and we moved down there. And I think just after wearing face masks and goggles in 85, 90-degree weather all day and sweatshirts, and it's just everything's just stinks and is sweaty and boots and it's just gnarly. We went down there and it was board shorts, no shirt. I was like skateboarding day one, the beach, the smell, you can breathe, you're not at elevation. Like everything was just incredible. My brother, at his energy was down there. And so we spent like 3 weeks, and his
Hmm.
roommate, or excuse me, his neighbor, my brother's neighbor, was this like 55, maybe 60-year-old, super legendary OG retired surfer. And he went like full burnout, but just those people who you can literally watch, you're like, how is this guy out of shape? Looks crazy. Just
Hmm.
paddles out on a shortboard, duck dives every wave. He paddles right into the perfect spot. You're like, there's no way he's jumping up. Boom, he's up doing
Yep.
turns. And you're like, same kind of deal as when I went to Mount Snow, saw all the good riders and was like, that's snowboarding. I want that. I saw that in surfing. And
Hmm.
then I got humbled, and I
Yep.
tried for probably like 2 weeks, I want to say, every day, 6 a.m., 9 foot, 55-pound longboard, lugging it to the beach by myself, bloody
Yep.
lips, nose through the face, bleeding,
Yep.
broken nose, like everything you can imagine. And I just love getting humbled, I think. I don't know why. It's like the most, I love starting from scratch and like building.
Yeah.
And after like 2 weeks, I caught a wave, and it was just, it was an unreal feeling. It feels like the whole mountain's moving and shifting, and you have
Yep.
to like calculate and lock yourself into the one smooth spot, and then you
Yep.
get beat down, you have to hold your breath. And that's how it all started. And I think ever since then, I've wanted to like commit some time to that. but I
Mhm.
put so much time into the snowboard career and the vlog and everything that I'm doing. And snowboarders do not surf. They don't know anything about surfing. They all think they're going to jump on a surfboard, myself included, and just start ripping turns. And
So
surfing is
different.
95% arms, paddling, positioning. And
Yep.
yeah, I think I was like, after that month of surfing with my brother down in Southern California, I was just waiting for a time where I could like dedicate to it. And
Mhm.
I was still living like the humble truck thing. My buddy, I met this dude down in Mexico. He asked me if I could watch his spot while he went to Indonesia. And I stayed there for 3 months and surfed
Mhm.
like perfect waves with no one around and no service, no food, no job. He was paying my rent and my cell phone. And I was just like, this is the best thing ever. Like paddling out and being surrounded by the ocean and dealing with the elements and all the variables and then just getting beat up is like,
Oh yeah.
I love it more than anything. And so like I eventually committed, took some time off of snowboarding, wanted to achieve that result of like being able to navigate the water anywhere and like pop up, surf, maybe get barreled. And I kept thinking it was like, oh, I just want to be able to ride a wave. I just want to be able to ride a wave, and then I can snowboard happily and know I can go. But then once you start riding the wave, you're like, well, I want to do like I want to snap a turn or like I want to get a
Yep.
barrel. It just kept leading down the road to now I'm like, I really want to spend like a year in Hawaii and like learn how to become as good as I am at snowboarding. And
Yeah.
it's not for everybody. You're going to get annihilated if you go out
Oh
there,
yeah.
as you know. But if you're ready to
Oh
get humbled and put the work in and realize how out of shape you are, how weak you are, how unendured your lungs are, like,
yeah.
come on into the ocean.
Dude, for real. Like I wish I was a good snowboarder or a good surfer. I wish I was a good snowboarder too, but um
Yep.
I my friends will like come out with me and all of them like want to come and surf. Obviously, my parents still live in Oceanside, so I'll like take like a crew of people. I'm like, let's go learn. Like you're gonna want to like die, but we'll go learn. And my dad's like a big longboarder, as I said. So like I can't shortboard to save my life. I can't duck dive. I can only turtle roll. Like I've just always ridden a longboard. And so like part of me always wants to learn how to like snap a turn. You just really can't do that on a longboard, right? And so I've never really gotten to that point. But boy, do when you first start, like, and I started when I was, I don't know, my dad probably took me out there when I was like 9 or 10. And then, yeah, I got pummeled in the face by his giant longboard. And I was like, I'm done. Like a little 10-year-old, I was like, this is awful. I hate this. And I started like just swimming out there with him. I was a competitive swimmer for a while. And so I would just go out there and I would just like paddle around and he would just be surfing and I'd just be like hanging out in the waves and stuff. And then eventually, when I was like 15, 16, I was like, this is stupid. Like, why am I being so like scared of this? Like, I want to actually learn. And so, same thing, like, you have to go out there for days and days and days and months and months. And it takes a long time because I think the biggest like learning curve for it is you go up to a mountain and snowboard and it's on you to pick it up, right? Like the snow's still there, all this kind of thing. You go out in the waves and like it could just be a crap day and like there's not going to be a single wave, or maybe the waves are like way too big, or they're just giant walls. And then there's like so many different factors that it takes not only you getting used to it, but like also having perfect conditions, which are like kind of rare, at least where I'm from. Like it's kind of rare. And so it's super hard not only to like, yeah, if you fall, it's not gonna hurt. Like on snowboarding, you're gonna break a bone. Surfing, you're probably not gonna break anything, but like you might drown. So
Yep.
it's like almost a worse like mental battle to get over. But when you, I guess, long story short, when you finally get that, it's completely opposite to snowboarding, in my personal opinion. Like you said, it's so much like upper body, where snowboarding so much lower body. When you're turning a surfboard, it's your back foot. When you're turning a snowboard, it's your front foot. Like they're completely opposite. And so many people, whether you started surfing, go to snowboarding, or vice versa, you think it's going to be so similar, and people are like, oh well, you picked it up because you used to surf and you used to skate. I'm like, it's so different. Like they're not even close to being the same at all. And it's so cool to have that different experience on a board. I personally think that if you can do both, like you said, just being able to go ride is like such a cool experience for both. And I guess there's not really an end to the story, but I just think if anyone has the opportunity to go and try both and see how different they are and get humbled in both sports, truly, I think it's definitely worth the opportunity to just, you ground yourself in two completely different aspects of our world, like the ocean and that being so much bigger than you, and the mountains and that being so much bigger than you. And I think it's just such a cool experience.
I agree in every aspect. And surfing's tight because in snowboarding, if you're not good and you have a bad day and you fall, you hurt your butt, you're also like wet and cold and it's freezing and you're annoying and there's not like good food resort. I mean, everything like that is wild. But you have a bad day surfing, you end up like rolling onto the beach, catch your breath. You're laying in like the sand on a tropical island with like coconuts around you and like everybody's beautiful. And you know what I mean? The sun is glass. There's like organic food everywhere. It's just such a good energy. There's usually a poolside with a hammock. Grab a book. It's like you're in the snow, you're walking down the resort with your board in your hand. It's torture. But also,
yeah, absolute torture.
snowboarders don't give surfing enough credit because surfing came first, and that's how we snowboard. And a lot of people don't know that. And like, I feel like, just like you said, for the past 10 years, it's been my dream to be able to just go surf, leave the mountain or leave the water, and then just go snowboard and be able to like manage them both. So I'm so grateful that I've put in as much time as I have, but I literally feel like I'm at 1%. Like I need to step up everything. But I think we're always gonna be like that.
Yeah, totally. And you just did a 3-day, or I forget what it's called, like a snowboard
Triple
surf
threat.
skate. Yeah, there you go. From Big Bear, right? That's like such a known thing where I'm from. It's like, we'll go do all three.
Yeah, we got to hit a triple threat together.
If only I could skateboard. That's the one thing I really can't do.
Just ride on it. You just gotta cruise around. You know what
I can do that. Like I
longboard.
grew up, we would go down to the Oceanside Pier, like when I was like, I don't know, 14. So I couldn't drive. Me and my friend and our two dads would go out and surf. They'd yell at us for just fucking around and not actually surfing. And then we go get on our skateboards and we'd just go ride down to the harbor, grab some food, come back. So like I can like ride a skateboard, but I can't skateboard.
That's all it is. Ride your snowboard, ride your skateboard, ride your surfboard. Your California dreaming.
Totally. Well, thank you for coming on. This has been a really sick conversation. I hope a lot of people enjoyed it and got some stuff out of it to just like get on their health journey and, just take the small step and it'll make a big difference.
Yeah, well, add one thing in wherever you can. There's a million things that you can do, which is amazing because you can get a million more percent energy, but don't overwhelm yourself with that. Just grab one thing that you can handle. Do that consistently until it's on a regimen, and then just try to slip in another one, and don't beat yourself down for not doing it. I take days off of stuff that I should do all the time.
Yeah, totally. And remember to check your neck.
Keep the neck on point.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, Casey.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon, huh? We got to get a lap in Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Epic. All right. We'll chat soon. Thanks for having me.
Of course.